Hello and welcome to another of my pipe smoking videos. It's very nice to see you. Another week passes and we're back here again. I hope you're all well and doing good stuff. I'm going to smoke a pipe. It's a Hardcastle, and for those that are interested, it is an Argyle 127 in whatever shape that is. You'd think I would learn, but every time I say I think I know what it is, I get it wrong. So there you go. Anyway, I'm here by the fire, as you can see. I think we're getting into autumn again. It's getting a little autumnal. Do I look like I'm a bit far away? Let me just come a bit more forward. I wanted you to see the flames of the fire. But I like this every day, even in the summer, because I only have a wood-burning stove to cook on. And even in the summer, I have to do it. So it's quite nice to move a little bit away. It's been raining a lot here. It's been raining a hell of a lot. So the last few days. Now, what am I going to smoke in that pipe? I've got something. Now, I want to tell you about my friend Ed. He's a lovely bloke, and he's gone out of his way to send me some samples. So I lent him some money, and I said, look, just pay me back in a couple of tins of tobacco, because he was just short at us, you know, when we were somewhere. And I said, oh, I'll give you the cash. And it's quite nice to do it that way, because then I don't feel guilty that I'm spending the money on tobacco as such. I've given it to him. He's used it for what he needed to use it for. And then he does go into the tobacconist in Reading. And I said, look, you know, he said, oh, I'll just give you the notes out of a machine and blah, blah, blah. I said, no, when you next go in, just spend the same amount on tobacco. So he did. But as a little bonus, he's bought me one of these selection of Burley select samples. That's the word I'm looking for. So I've already smoked one, which was, I'm trying to remember what the hell it was called. Tower House, I think it was called, by Samuel Goarth, I think. This is another, the Goarth Hogget. This is another little sample. This one is black and brown. I know nothing about it, so I'm going to give that a whirl. And I've got a few accoutrements here, which I'm going to utilise in today's little chin chat, as ever we chat. So, very grateful for this. I use this all the time. It just comes in so useful. And the great thing is, I haven't got my jacket on, but you can roll it up because it's soft leather and put it in your pocket and then bring it out. It just saves a lot of hassle. I know some people don't get on with them, but I never thought it was necessary. I was a bit, you know, what do I need that for? Until I got one. You know, it's like most things. Are you somebody that really... You just put up with things because you don't think you need them. Somebody else buys it for you, and then you think, how could I ever have survived without it? Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. But it's nice, isn't it, to repay a favour in a different way, rather than just being given the cash straight back, to do it in a different way. And I want to just relate something that's happened. We've filmed something. I don't want to give this away quite yet because you'll see it when it comes out. I'm sorry about the light is reflecting in my glasses, and I do try to not let that happen. And it's very annoying when that happens, I find. But anyway, something happened, and it'll be in another video. And I went to get some pieces of wood for something, and it was only a tiny little piece of wood I needed, and I couldn't find the same thing. Now, near me, there's a wood yard, and I went into the wood yard and I said, look, I'm only really looking for just a little piece like this, but I found this 8-foot length which would do it. Could you tell me how much it is? And he said, is that all you need? And it was only like 8 inches. I said, yes, it's part of something I'm building, but there was a number of them, and there was one missing. And he said, oh, let me take the measurements. He took the measurements, and he disappeared for a bit, and he came back, and he had chopped them, and he came back. I only need one, but he came back. He'd obviously taken it out of a length of something, chopped it, and he said, "How about that?" And they were perfect length, almost identical. And I said, and he gave me 3 others. He said, "There you go. Look, there's 4 altogether. Is that all right?" And I said, "Well, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. How much do I owe you?" And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." He says, "You live nearby. I've seen you coming and going. You come in quite regularly. So we'll get you next time," he said. And I thought, isn't that a nice gesture? Isn't that nice when people do something to go out of the way? A favour is brought forward. What do they call it? Pushing it forward or taking it forward or something? It's something like that, don't they? Anyway, now, I want to get this lit, but I have this little leather pouch thing, which is rather nice, and inside it is my Zippo. And I very rarely use my Zippo, and every time I watch Father John, he's got his Zippo out and a massive great flame comes out, and I always think I must get my Zippo going. And I've got my other lighter, which is a gas lighter, but I just thought, well, you know, let's get the Zippo going, because if you're out and about outside in this wind, you need something that's going to stay alight a little longer. And so I think I probably need to fill it with petrol, whatever it is, and I have a little tin of it here. So I thought I'll just do it on the video. So that's what I'm going to do, if I can get into the blooming thing. Now, talking of Father John, I know he hasn't made a video since the disappearance and the demise of Lord Montgomery. If you follow a Parsons Progress, I don't know why I keep getting it wrong. He used to have it was a different name at one time, his channel. And now I'm a bit stymied here. I've got my pipe lit, and I can't. This is a butter knife here, with I think what looks like a bit of butter on it. I was baking bread earlier today. I've got to try and wake this thing up. There we go. I think there's enough. There's just enough in here to wet the whistle. So I shall wet this. Let's just stick that in there for a minute in my pocket. It's what I like about waistcoats. They've got these pockets, you know. So, you know how Zippo works, of course. The flint was working. We saw that. Cool, dust is coming off this. So I've just got to fill it with petrol. Be careful not to get some on the fire, otherwise we'll have a bigger fire. So I'll just fill it up. I never know how much to put in these things. There's barely a dribble in this. I don't know if you can see it. Barely a dribble. I've only got one eye, which makes this sort of operation quite tricky, because I'm invariably I'm either too close or too far away, and things just drip on the floor. I'm doing that when I make cups of tea and pouring out the water and what have you. Anyway, people will be saying you've either put too much in or you haven't put enough in, and all the wadding. So I'm just going to try. I'd like to use my Zippo a bit more, as I say. Anyway, Father John hasn't done. I'm going to just try soaking a bit at the front there, so we get a bit of a flame, so I can light my. I know some people don't like Zippos, do they? They say, well, the petrol deflavours the tobacco. But I don't worry too much about that. I don't get too bothered with the finesse of everything. Some people get so, you know, they everything's got to be perfect, hasn't it? I'm a bit rough round the edges, me. Let's see what happens. There we go. There we go. Now, of course, unlike my other lighter, which has a directional flame, this doesn't. But as Father John says, you can't go wrong with a Zippo unless it runs out. So yeah, Father John hasn't made any videos yet. I'm sure he will. He, you know, he's a lovely bloke. Where's my tamper? I've got all these gizmos. He's a lovely bloke, yeah, and you know, things hit people in different ways, don't they? People get emotional about different things. Some people are just not animal lovers. Other people are animal lovers. Some people, I was chatting to a chap not so long ago, and he says he can't bear it if he treads on a snail. He says, I go around picking them all up and moving them. And I guess to a certain degree, I'm a bit the same. You know, if I've got a log and I'm putting it on the fire, I always bang the logs together in case there's wood lice or little spiders. I bang them so they drop off, because I just don't like the idea of a little spider on there about to have its demise in a rather gruesome way. Nope. Here we go. So I'm often looking at the logs, just going, because I keep them outside under cover, and then you put them in. You can't save everything, can you? You're bound to tread on something at some point. People say, why does your pipe go out, Richard? You're always lighting your pipe. Well, the truth is, it's because I'm talking and fiddling and what have you. But, well, I'll try not to. I actually enjoy all that sort of paraphernalia and stoking it and whatever. Some people don't. Some people just want to light it and sit there and have little tiny puffs. Some people like big puffs. You know, everybody's each to their own, isn't it? Now, some news to tell you. Those of you who don't see the other channel that I do, I've been writing a book called Biggleswick about a town that wouldn't comply with the council's demands. And a lot of people going through this, a lot of people are asking, why is the authority in local areas just seem to be very dehumanised. And so I thought I'd write a fictional story about it. Well, you've heard me talk about it a little bit. It's at the printers now. The artwork is at the printers. The manuscript is at the printers. And the money is at the printers. And some people said to me, why aren't you doing it on Amazon like everybody else these days? You know, self-publishing, vanity publishing, as they used to call it. And I suppose it is a bit of a vain project. And the thing is, I'm not a great fan of these big corporations that seem to have gobbled up everything. You take the high street. There are, in this country, if you're watching from this country, certain supermarkets that have visited towns and even villages over the last 50, 60 years, and they, because of the buying power they have, they set up a small convenience store next to the one-man band or family-run business, and effectively, because they can be cheaper and have bigger stock, they run that business out of hand. Now, you may say, oh, but that's just, you know, the commercial way, isn't it? That is capitalism for you. But when it's to the detriment, I think, of service, little business, they value their customers, the people who run it know the stock, is it really the little extra that you might pay to somebody who can recommend you something because he knows you, he's seen you come in many, many times, and these are people of perhaps all sorts of different ages, if it's family run, giving the younger family members opportunities as well as the older family members opportunities, and not just to have them on the minimum wage, and not just to give teenagers who couldn't give a toss whether they're in the supermarket or somewhere else, a job. You know, I think when you go in, it's something that's disappearing rapidly, and that is that sense of loyalty, that sense of service, that sense of genuine service, who genuine want you to come in. So I'm not a great fan of big corporations. And there's one big corporation that, when was it, 20 years ago? Seems like about 20 years ago. They started with books. Everywhere you went, every town you went, there were beautiful second-hand bookshops, and you could weave through those second-hand bookshops and find gold in terms of books. And then online came this retailer who started to make the second-hand book shops a thing of the past. And it was just books at first. Now they do everything. And I'm sure you know who I mean. And they do print on demand. And it's very convenient. It's very convenient. You don't have to stump up any money. You can write your manuscript and away you go. But again, it's a big corporation. And my book, Biggleswick, is a book that it doesn't really it doesn't favour these big corporations. And so then for me to publish my book on one of these big corporations, I think would just be hypocritical. I know that we are beholden to these companies, but where possible, it would be nice to support the existing ones and also other ones, small publishers, small printers. You know, I used to be in the print trade, you see, when I left school. When I left school, I was in printing. So I know a little bit about print. I used to operate a print machine and make the plates and make take the photo images of the artwork, do the artwork. I think I may have explained this in some previous video. So to me, it's very important to support the smaller guys, the smaller firms. And so I can't put my book on Amazon. Oh, there we are, I've said it. I've said it. I can't put it on there, even though that would be convenient for all the buyers. And of course, I will make less sales. I'll have fewer sales because it's so easy for people with an app to go, yeah, I'll buy Vobes' book, and they'll do it, you know, in an instant bang, where it's a lot more effort to go to a website and make that order and so on. Anyway, it's at the printers, and I'll get something like, because I've had to decide what the run would be, I'll get something like 40 boxes delivered on a pallet to my door, which I shall have to ferry in. And my house will be full of these books, hardback books with a dust cover and stitched like a good old-fashioned book should be. And then I will try and see if people will be interested. I may make a loss, maybe people don't want them. It's a fictional story with a few surprises in it, I think. Or at least I hope so. Anyway, that's the point. I'm not really trying to sell you the books because it's not really your thing necessarily, but you might like it. But I just wanted to tell you, it has taken a year to get to this point, to get it right. Fiction, I think, is the hardest form of writing. A friend of mine, he writes fact. And so, you know, dry facts, I think, are pretty dull, really. You can say that this is this, and this is the proof of that, and here's this, and here's that. And you collate it together. I'm not saying it's an easy task, but I do think that fiction, when you've got different characters, you've got to keep the audience engaged. The story may be made up, but perhaps the environment or what goes on could be true. It also, I think, offers people an experience, because you can put both sides of an argument. People can be sitting in a pub arguing over, I don't know, let's say the price of tobacco. And one person may be saying, well, tobacco's, you know, dreadful. You shouldn't be smoking in the first place. Or they may be saying, well, the tobacco is this, that, and the other. And another character that you write can argue from the opposite point of view. And so you can be relatively balanced, which you can't be. Well, you're not really balanced if you're writing a treatise or a factual thing about, you know, the manufacture of tobacco. And that could be quite dry, whereas these two characters might talk about this. It may be completely insignificant to the main plot, but it may be that that's the character who he smokes a pipe, let's say, and he can't afford to buy the tobacco. So what does he do? Maybe he goes off and grows it, you know. So you could follow that kind of a storyline, if you see what I mean. So I think fiction is very tricky, and also getting the language right, the description right, not too much description, enough to paint pictures in people's minds. I think it's very difficult. Now, I'm not saying I've got it right by any means, but I'm saying that it's very enjoyable. I found it absolutely thrilling to write the first draft. After that, the editing process, whilst it's not, it is difficult, but it's not as thrilling because you're not being creative. The creative bit is the best bit. It really is the best bit. Anyway, and I know that Father John has got a book, and he's been reading us some bits of his book, and I'm interested to see if what he will do, whether he'll put it on Amazon, which probably be the easiest option, or whether, you know, what he will do, how he will produce it and how he will sell it. And but these days, who reads books? That's the question, isn't it? I read books, but most people don't these days. Most people, maybe they listen to books. They like them being read if they do a lot of driving. You could listen to it in a car, I suppose. But I mean, some people do listen to books and they fall asleep. But most people, I think, now either watch the telly or, more than ever, they're on social media. And perhaps the nuances, the arguments, the quality of language that is used that you would use in a book, I think is sorely missing, because people really are just writing the bullet points. They're getting to the point in the most basic of language. And I think the experience is, well, it's different. It's just different. Excuse me. And especially with children. Children are not as erudite anymore, on the whole. You know, they may have a knowledge base of things, and that may be up to date and may be very contemporary, but because they don't read and they don't write, their use of language has diminished really sadly. Has just, I mean, you know, sometimes I struggle with the language just to talk to you guys, you know. But their language is very, very basic. Their comprehension of different words and how to use them is almost non-existent. This is sweeping statements, I grant you. But their ability to talk eloquently and explain efficiently without going off at different tangents, keeping very precise, using precise language, I think also has just dropped off a cliff, which is incredible, really, in this day and age when we're supposed to be the most sophisticated we've ever been. And then, of course, you've got AI. And in my other channel, I have to say I'm very not in favour of AI. Like all these things, that it has its place, I dare say, as a labour-saving thing, and a lot of people want to save labour. Although certain things, certain people get a lot of pleasure out of doing the labour yourself manually in the analogue way. And, you know, I think that's important. The worry for me about AI, of course, is that people are treating it as if it's God, as if it's the all-knowledgeable thing. And as a result of that, they're not thinking for themselves, because they've got some guru in their pocket they can ask. Now, let's say that the guru in the pocket is correct all the time and not biased or anything. Let's just assume it is as it is sold to us. It seems to me that even then, with all that advantage that it's genuine, it's true, it's honest, it's comprehensive and all this, it still means that the convenience of quickly asking and finding out something rather than doing any legwork or any thinking oneself is the danger. That you become reliant on something else effectively to do your thinking and your reasoning. You may disagree. And I'm all about whether you can disagree, of course. It seems that people don't have time anymore. Everything's got to be instant gratification. I get people who say to me, I can't watch your videos when you smoke your pipe. I don't like the pauses when you're lighting the pipe. I want you to get to the point. And of course, these videos, the point is not to get to it too fast, is to enjoy the moment, to be in the now, to enjoy the pipe, to use one's brain, use that cerebral thought process to think, to reason, to use the logic, to change one's mind. That's another important thing that we should be allowed as one develops a thought and then realizes, oh, well, maybe that's a flaw, actually. Now I think about it and put things into perspective. I think, you know, for us pipe smokers and those who enjoy pipe smoking videos, it is that business of spending time. That, I guess, is why some people who watch these videos will have a pipe ready and they will enjoy sitting back listening to this bald bloke puffing away on his pipe, lighting it millions of times, pontificating about this, that and the other, cogitating on something else, changing tactic from times to times. But this is it. It is a freestyle, open thought process. That's what this is. With pauses and excuses to light the old Zippo, to get that Zippo going. Time. It's funny, isn't it? We're in a world where they say we've always got to progress. We've got to be more efficient. We must keep our productivity up. And I say, why? Why have we got to be busy? Why have we got to get the productivity up? Why have we got to do things so quickly? Why can't we take our time, increase our ability to be skilled, enjoy the moment, rest a while, talk to our friends, talk to strangers, engage in meaningful moments, whatever they are. I find myself rushing around a hell of a lot, and then I have to sort of curb myself and say, wait, what are you doing? As if it's so important to get to the end of the journey, but I don't think it is it? We're on the journey. The moment is always now. We don't need, in my humble opinion, to be in such a rush all the time. But I guess that comes with age and maturity. You would think it would be the reverse. You would think, would you not, when you are a juvenile, the younger people are a bit more leisurely. Then you get into your 20s and you speed up. But when you get to your 40s and 50s, I think you're at your fastest pace, aren't you? Trying to get stuff done. Is that because you think there is not enough time, that life is running out. Then you get into this maturity stage in which you start to think, no, I'll take my time. And yet the irony there is you haven't got as much time. You haven't got your whole life ahead of you, have you? But the moment now is much more important. Anyway, I've taken up far too much of your time. And I'm coming to the end of my pipe. So there we go. I'll keep you posted about the book. It'll be about early October, I think, when it will be ready. If you're interested, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, take care. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Happy piping and toodle pipe.